I was back at St Andrews, I had an undergrad course from Doug Philp, who is the top prof in self-replicating molecules. And he taught me that molecules can catalyze their own formation by molecular recognition, binding their own starting materials. By doing this, you end up with two molecules of template that can then go on to catalyze their own formation, and you get an autocatalytic cycle. When you're in the kinetics of this reaction, you get a lag period, while you're just waiting for the starting materials to collide together. And then it increases towards the maximum rate when you have a lot of autocatalysts around that can make the reaction go faster. And then of course it slows down once you've used up all of the starting materials. And this reminded me of the growth profile of bacteria, and it got me interested in chemistry that does the kind of thing that life does. So it was off to Glasgow to do a PhD with Lee Cronin. And Lee had all sorts of crazy ideas about droplets and microfluidics and putting replicators into droplets and selection of droplets with microfluidic devices. So I had an idea. We could make an amphiphilic template self-replicator. And the idea was then to put it into a microfluidic chip and see what it does to the droplets. So we had this very elegant plan, but this is where the difficulties start. Because the synthesis looked incredibly elegant on paper, but in practice it translated into flasks of brown gunge and columns full of black tar. And I got into quite a bit of difficulty, never quite being able to get things pure, until I discovered the flash. The flash is a beautiful, fancy piece of equipment where you put your sample in and it runs your column for you, safety first. And this solved quite a lot of my problems, although it created a few of its own. So once I'd made my molecules, I wanted to get to testing it in microfluidic devices. And I spoke to my friend Mark, who'd already been making microfluidic devices, and he'd had quite a lot of good luck making them out of rubber. But the problem is, the solvents I had to use to dissolve my compounds would also dissolve the rubber. This was a problem. So I decided to buy a glass microfluidic device from a company in the Netherlands, which I did while I was still synthesizing the replicators. But 6 months later, I still had no microfluidic chip. I've been waiting for months. After a long battle with many emails back and forth, I eventually received my microfluidic device, and I was very excited to open it and begin my experiments. But before starting experiments with the microfluidic device, I had to bond inlets to the holes in the chip so that I could allow solvents and my chemicals to be pumped in. This involved going into the clean room dressed in what is essentially a bunny suit to stop my skin and hair from contaminating the chips and their delicate inlets. I had to place these plastic fittings onto the device with millimeter precision such that the holes line up, and place an epoxy ring between the inlet and the device, which I then clipped together with a bulldog clip. Yes, this was the manufacturer's recommended protocol, and put it in the oven for the glue to cure. So, very carefully, I assembled everything together. I put on the bulldog clip, careful to align everything with millimeter precision and not break the device. Then, while placing it into the oven extremely carefully, I let go of the chip, and ping! There was a loud noise, and the microfluidic chip shattered into several pieces. I then picked up the pieces. I put the pieces back in the box. I put the box back in the drawer, and I left the clean room, and I didn't return again. I had other results from putting the replicator in glass chips, but these results weren't impressive at all. Microfluidics was a dead end. How could I demonstrate that the replicator was amphiphilic? Well, I was doing research with robots, and interesting things can happen when you put oil droplets into water and watch them with image tracking. So I decided just to try placing some droplets in water. And to my amazement, as the reaction went on, there were changes in the way the droplets behaved. I told Lee these results and showed him the videos, and he got very excited. He told me to put it in the robot! Put it in the robot! So I decided to give it a go. I put it into the robot, and I got the robot to sample the self-replication reaction every few minutes, and place droplets into water, and measure them from below using a webcam. Then, with some programming skills I'd learned from building robots before, I got the robot to analyse what had happened using image tracking software and look at the area of the droplets changing with time. Miraculously, there was an increase, there was a pattern. And I was able to see that from this molecular phenomenon that you could usually only measure with some fancy analytical equipment, we could see its macroscopic effects on droplets that you can see with your eye or with a camera, and its change in time, bringing together two things that you might expect from minimal life.